Hi, my name is Thierry. I'm the founder of Munga Plains, and today I'm going to take you through the values of our project and some of the key principles around wildlife, wellness, and wisdom. The vision of what we are doing with Munga Plains, so there's three things I speak about. I call them the three W's. So one is wildlife, of course. Botswana is very lucky to be able to stay as intact as it was since a very long time. You have the Namibia border just a few kilometers back. So all the animals, they don't need a passport, they can cross, they can do whatever. Every safari, and this is very important, is different, unique. We don't want to fence anything. We don't want to feed animals. We want to make sure that they live as they are supposed to live, and every time you go out you have the chance of seeing something different and unique, right? So nothing is planned, and that's very important. It is one of these gems that still exist around the world, and one of the very few locations that was able to be preserved in this way, and that's why we have the ability to then get those beautiful sightings and see animals in their kingdom. So of course, by coming here, you're of course contributing to this project, but that's also why what was important for me in the beginning is also making sure that we're in a place where when you pay park fees to go in a national park like Chobe here, the fees indeed go to the national park and to the preservation of animals. This is not a reality in all the countries. In Botswana, this has been also working quite effectively, and this is again the benefit of tourism. So what we don't want is over tourism where we destroy everything, but at the same time we do want people to come in to view the animals, of course in their respect, but this is what makes sure that there's value, and it creates employment, and it creates a lot of things that benefits essentially and justify keeping huge national parks like these ones. Because you have Chobe National Park here, you have Moremi down the line, so there's a bunch of national parks, which means that there's no development places. It means that we need to find a way to make sure that the communities can live and can strive in this domain. Otherwise, what usually happens is that you start to have poaching, and people are potentially killing their own animals to be able to sell because they're not able to feed themselves. The second one is wellness, and I think again this is going back to then yoga and a number of different principles around that. So we want to stay in the wellness type of concept, which ties back not only to the animals and to wildlife, but also about yourself and how do we use nature essentially to transform. And the last one is wisdom. So what I wanted to do is to go beyond the transactional. The place we are at the moment, which is called Munga, this whole land that you see around here is tribal land from the Basubia people. The Basubia people are people from Botswana, so Namibia, up there Angola, and some of these places, and they settled exactly where we are. Kavimba, the village that you have just before arriving and turning on the right, is the main village for Basubia people. And 90% of the staff you see here, and we have about 25 people, 90% are from these villages I spoke about. So what we're trying to do here is to do a workshop as simple as you're going to be sitting down with some ladies. They're going to show you how they do it. You can try a little bit, but there's a little bit of disconnection that you get with people sharing energy and just being able to know a little bit more about who they are and what they do. For them, just being able to show that skill that they're using is very interesting, and to be able to share that with other people. I can see that when you're coming back with a basket, the way you explain it is completely different if you spend a bit of time to try to do it yourself, and you're like, okay, it took me an hour to do something small like this, something like this big. You speak to it, or you give it to a person as a gift in a different way. First thing that we can do as any business is to start, employing and training people, so that even if they don't only stay a year with us, that at least they've been trained and they can go and work for some of the other lodges in Kasane and in the other places. When we started here, point number one was to make sure that whatever we do, we try to keep as much as possible the principle of if we were to remove it, nature would take over very quickly. So in 2022, everything was looking like this. It was just yellow grass, essentially, all around. When I came here, that was the first principle, was to say, okay, whatever we do here, don't want to start now bulldozing, putting concrete and starting to put something that just destroys everything. Of course, we're in the middle of nowhere, so there's no water available, there's no electricity available. So it meant getting water from the ground, then being able to pull it. That water, once you pull it, you couldn't drink it like that. It won't have the right taste, it won't have the right color or the right smell. That's why on that side, you can see we built a whole water treatment plant that essentially filters the water and brings it to the color, that the ability to be used in the rooms, in the showers, to wash your hands and all these type of things. And on that side, then we also implemented a reverse osmosis process to make sure that there's purified water available on tap. That goes back even to things like plastic that we wanted to avoid. Like most of these lodges will provide you with those plastic bottles. Try to make sure that we're avoiding bringing all this plastic. It starts with that. You need to make sure that ideally there's no plastic being used, so that it doesn't just suddenly appear everywhere. The same thing on the solar panels. So it was getting the electricity. We have the luck of mostly it's sunny, especially during full dry season. It's usually sunny every day, so we have the advantage of there's a lot of sun, so let's take advantage of that sun. So we're running essentially on solar. Everything you're doing every day is on solar. For the hot water, you have solar geysers on the back of the room that is heating the water. And then for everything which is sewage related, so the gray water and everything that goes out, same thing, we have a sewage treatment plant. right? So that green tanks you see a bit on the back that side. And this is an ecological process of breaking down the gray water up until like with different bacteria in different stages until you can go and bring it back into nature. The goal was really to be this camp over time doesn't need external help to be able to run. It doesn't mean it's 100% the case yet today. We're developing this whole space is supposed to become an orchard for us to have our own vegetables and fruits and other things. It takes time, but it's part of the process and things that we want to be able to have here so that we can consume whatever we produce instead of having to take from different suppliers.